everybody, and welcome back to Sell More Academy, the mastermind for more sales. My name is Ben McGarry, and for the last 2 decades, I've spent nearly every day trying to figure out how to sell more stuff. I've been in the trenches selling my own products and services for years. I've built teams, companies, and systems that sell from Main Street, small town USA, all the way to Wall Street. And I've been fortunate enough to coach and consult for countless others worldwide, all in totaling over $150 million in sales. During that time, it's become painfully obvious that the marketplace is and always will be loud and noisy. Content creators and social media gurus promote clickbait tactics and short-sighted strategies that often cause more harm than good. It seems like everyone has all these tools at their fingertips these days, but nobody really knows how to put it all together. Plus, what worked yesterday might not work today and will almost certainly be different again by tomorrow. And that's precisely why I started Sell More Academy, to build a community and a set of resources to help you stay ahead of the curve, to help cut through the noise and make sense of the next best step. At Sell More Academy, we focus on what we consider to be the 5 pillars of modern business success: AI, branding, marketing, sales, and systems. We bring this to you through a powerful combination of a vibrant mastermind community where you could connect with and learn from fellow high achievers and experts in the field, live masterclasses just like this one, where we dive deep into the strategies and tactics for each pillar, covering one per day, a curated collection of resources, including free tools that we're building to help you sell more effectively, and our Sell More directory, connecting you with pre-vetted providers and solutions that you'll need when it's time to either outsource or just find the right tool for the job. Our goal here is to provide you with everything that you need to not only stay informed and competitive, but to sell a lot more stuff. And that brings us to today's masterclass, where we're going to go into sales and specifically into prospecting. Why does prospecting matter so much? Well, here's what I've learned over 20 years. Prospecting itself is broken. Not because salespeople aren't trying hard enough. It's because that they're trying or doing things the wrong way, which creates opportunity for all of us. Most prospecting is just noise. Blanket messages, fake personalization, forced rapport. It doesn't work because it's not real and people can feel it. And if you've ever received those messages, you know what I'm talking about. We could have the best product in the entire world. We could have perfect systems. We could have a killer marketing machine that's pumping out messages. But if your prospecting is broken, the pipeline is just going to stay empty. And that's what we're going to fix today. So in this masterclass, we're not covering hacks or tricks that will somehow boost your tactical abilities. No. We're talking about a different approach entirely. Instead, we're going to cover the real problem, why most prospecting fails. We're going to cover the right mindset and just a single question that can kind of change everything in your perception. The pipeline of suspects to prospects to leads, the strategy of how to connect intelligently instead of blasting out blanket messages, and the execution, where to prospect, what to say, and how to move people through your pipeline. By the end of this masterclass, you should have a clear system, not a bunch of just tactics everywhere. You should have a strategy for making sure that you are prospecting through each of the stages. Speaking of stages, prospecting has 3 stages that we're going to cover. And those stages would be from the suspect to prospect, from prospect to lead, and from lead to the next step or conversion. Now, What we're not going to talk about today is building trust. We don't believe in that here. Getting people to like you, that's not our objective either. We're not going to go over clever email subject lines. We're not going to go over fake personalization. We're not going to go over some kind of hack or shortcut that's going to save you time. Instead, we're going to go over what it's like to be worth someone's time. That's it. That's it. So after 45 minutes, you should understand whether your current approach is broken or not, how to think about your pipeline a little differently, how to connect with people intelligently, where to focus your efforts, and most importantly, you're going to have a clear first step to take after this masterclass is done. So let's kind of get rid of this idea that prospecting is a complicated process and just understand the fact that maybe we've been taught to do it wrong. Maybe there's a better way, and we're going to focus on fixing that today. So, today we are going to talk about, obviously, prospecting, but not the way that you've been taught in the past. This isn't about having some kind of, as I mentioned, some kind of tricks or hacks or anything like that. This is about connecting with our prospects intelligently. And so we're going to dive into how to get messages that actually get through to people, not just to send more messages. This is about being more effective, not just busy. None of us like being busy for no reason. Before we get started, there are two quotes that I think are just critical to keep in mind as we move through this. And the first one comes from David Sandler, the Sandler selling method. And one of the rules of the Sandler selling method is you never have to like prospecting. You just have to do it. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. Nobody loves prospecting, regardless of what they tell you. Unless they're really, really good at it and they're getting a bunch of results, then it's easier to like something. But they still would rather not have to do that part. But that leads to my second quote for you, and it's from Jeb Blunt. Jeb said, "There is no easy button in sales. Prospecting is hard, emotionally draining work, and it's the price that you have to pay to earn a high income in sales." So we have two sales experts both saying you don't have to like prospecting. It's hard. It's not fun, but you got to do it anyway. That's the mentality that we're going to carry forward here. So let's get started. Let's tackle the biggest problem that we see in prospecting head on. Most of us are out there fishing with some kind of dynamite. Okay. We're blasting the same message to hundreds of people, just hoping that something sticks. Whether this is through a DM, a phone call, a text message, or an email, it really doesn't matter. We're just blasting this message out there and hoping that if we hit enough of the right people, that something will happen. But that's not prospecting. That's spam. That's spam called sales. And it's just not right. The real issue isn't that you're reaching out to a lot of people, though, right? So it's not about the quantity up front. The real issue is that you're reaching out to all these people the same way. Real prospecting demands intelligence and discipline. And so when we say intelligence, we don't mean that, hey, you're dumb. What we mean is you need to have intelligence on the customer before you could ever move forward with reaching out to them. You need to have some level of discipline to know the right steps and to not jump steps. This means actually seeing the other person that's on the other end and understanding that they are unique and then treating them that way. And so if you work with a wide range of different customers, a farmer that's in the country where I grew up is a very different person, top to bottom, from somebody who's an executive in New York City. Fundamentally, from top to bottom, they're going to be different. And so to send them both the same message because they're the same age and they both have a founder title, that's crazy. That is not effective at all. So if we're going to see the other person on the other end, then we're going to have to stop all this noise and start being smart about it. So how do we begin to fix a broken approach? Well, in my opinion, it starts with a fundamental shift in how we actually think about prospecting. So this is the big mindset shift. We've got to, before we talk about any kind of tactics or anything like that, or understanding different components of prospecting, we really need to understand the mindset, because your mindset dictates every single thing that follows. Most salespeople approach prospecting with the wrong frame from the jump. They're asking, how do I get this person to like me? Or how do I build rapport really quickly? But that is just completely backwards. That is information that came from a book in the 1930s that does not actually apply today. It didn't apply perfectly then. It only worked in an echo chamber then. However, now with a fraction audience, with people everywhere, with more people at our fingertips, we have to do more. So the right question is very, very simple. Do I have something valuable to offer? If the answer is yes, then reach out. But if it's no, then don't reach out. Whether it's the first time or the follow up, don't reach out if you don't have something valuable to offer. Otherwise, that's just annoyance. That's just pestering. That's not what you want to do. That's not how you want to be represented. Whether you work for someone else and you're selling their products or you're selling your own stuff, you don't want to be represented as somebody who bothers people and pesters people. Now, I know in sales, sometimes we put that on like a badge of honor. I get it. But wouldn't it be a little easier, instead of saying just circling back, just checking in, just following up? Wouldn't it be easier to reach out with something of value, something that could actually help the person that's on the other end? If you agree with that, then this mindset shift is going to help you a lot. If you don't, I really suggest that you meditate on this a lot more, because the idea of getting someone to like you is just wrong. We don't do business with people that we like. That's just not true. I like plenty of people that I've never done business with. I will go to their competitors. It's not some kind of automatic thing because we like someone, we do business with them. So instead, we want to focus on being useful, on having utility. And that's really where things come in. We hear this terminology all the time called value, 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 value. Lead with value, give them everything. Well, what is value? How do you value something intentionally, internally? Chances are you value or you place value the same way I do: utility, usefulness. So if I say that the value is for you to book a call with me, that is valuable to me. That doesn't necessarily help you. I could try to frame it as many different ways as I want, but the value is mine more so than yours. Most lead magnets, most tripwires, most even core offers should be based around them, not us, right? It just makes sense when we stop and pause and think about it. So we want to focus on that utility, on how do we actually help them in their process, because that's what we're going to build on. The alternative is a trap that, I mean, a lot of people fall into. You guys probably have messages in your inbox right now that are just horrible. We teach this in the bad swipes lesson. If you go into the learning section, you'll see bad swipes in there. And so I try to collect these as they come in that are examples of people that are just operating with a different mindset than what we're trying to put forth here. So we've identified this problem, and we know that most marketing and most prospecting in particular is just noise. So now let's clarify some of these fundamental terms, because most people get this wrong, and then that creates issues down the road. So there are three core buckets here that we're focused on with prospecting, and prospects isn't the first one. And I know that sounds crazy. Most of you say the word leads. This comes to me all the time. I got a bunch of leads. I got a big lead list. I bought some leads, whatever the case may be. But what you actually mean would be suspects, not even prospects. Suspects are just raw data. Their names on a list. They don't know you exist. They aren't qualified, there's no indication that they're actually a good prospect for you. And that's what matters. Is this a good prospect for me? Is my solution a good prospect for them? Right. And so we're looking for that exchange. And so in the suspect stage, we need to treat people like they're a suspect. They have no qualification. And so here, what we want to do is identify them. If we can identify them as a prospect, then they can move to our next bucket. And by making this shift between treating suspects as suspects and prospects as prospects and leads as leads, well, then we can communicate with them in the proper way for the stage that they're in. And so when we move into prospects, these are people that we've actually qualified in some way. Maybe they fit a certain criteria, checklist that we have. We've done some kind of homework and we know that both they are worth our time and that we are worth their time. Okay. And so that's the objective of prospects, is that it's a step more qualified than a suspect is. And that is so important. Next, when we're talking about leads, what do leads actually mean? Leads are prospects who have engaged with you. They've taken some kind of action. Maybe they've downloaded a lead magnet. Maybe they've moved into a tripwire offer with you. Maybe they're just responding and talking to you, and it sounds like they could potentially be interested. Now they're warm. They're in a conversation with you. This understanding of leads will help you treat suspects, prospects, and leads very differently, or it should, if you understand that these are different parts of their process. Understanding this pipeline mentality is truthfully crucial to how you'll move forward, because it helps you focus your efforts on what matters most per stage. And this clarity is directly tied into your success. We'll talk about this next, but ultimately, when we're in the suspect stage, we want to identify them. In the prospect stage, we want to connect with them intelligently. That's the key of this whole piece. And then in the lead stage, we want to build relationship. That is so important. I want to bring back one other quote here, and it's going to be from David Sandler again, where he says, prospecting is about opening doors, not closing deals. Think about that for a moment. That's what we're doing through this process. We're trying to look at the suspects and say, well, could any of these people potentially come through my door? At the prospect side of things, we're going to reach out to people intelligently and say something along the lines of, hey, it seemed like a good fit. Have you ever checked out doors like I offer? And then in the lead stage, we're actually talking about what we do and what we offer with them, just to try to move it one step forward. Maybe we're finding out more about them so we can kind of figure out if we're even a fit. Whatever takes place in that conversation stage, it's only a stage. Leads are not conversions. They're not deals. They're not opportunities yet. They're just leads. They're engaged pieces of data. They're humans on the other side that have real needs and wants, but that doesn't mean that they're ready to be pitched. That's what we're trying to figure out. So the first big pitfall that most people fall into here is the fake rapport trap. It's everywhere. Hey, first name emails. I saw you went to university. The forced personalization, especially with all of the automation and AI tools that are out there, it oftentimes makes people feel like they're hunted, not being helped. And so just keep in mind that because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. This stuff makes you sound like every other bot out there. Remember that. If you are doing what other people are doing, then you will sound like them and you cannot be unique. This makes prospects get defensive because real connection doesn't come from pretending that you have something in common. It doesn't come from pretending to care about their weather. It comes from showing that you understand their specific situation and that you know ways that you could actually help. The irony of the whole thing is that if you stop trying so hard to build rapport, you end up building more of it. People want to be around people that aren't trying so hard. It's unbelievable. So if authenticity is what we're going for here, then understand how rare it is in their inbox, in their just in their ears in general. They're not used to that. It's because most of the time we want to skip steps. So if fake rapport is just going to make us sound like a robot that has a human name, what do we do instead? Well, the alternative is intelligent connection. And we do this instead of blanket messaging. Think of it kind of like a sniper rifle versus a shotgun spread. Blanket messaging says, I've got a solution and everyone needs it. But intelligent connection says, I've looked at you and your specific situation. I see this particular challenge. Maybe I could help. This isn't about just sending more and more messages. I know that that is the old mentality of just do more. The math will work itself out. But that doesn't work anymore. Instead, we want to send smarter messages. That means we have to do our homework. We have to understand their specific problems and then tailor our approach. You can't skip this. Now, you don't have to go into full depth for absolutely everyone, but if we start to think categorically about who is a fit for us and who is not a fit for us, think back to our masterclass from last week where we talked about this. This helps us to figure out who do we actually need to dive into. It's the only the people that are going to be a fit for us, right? We don't need to go do hours of research on somebody that's not a fit. So we need to know who's a fit for us up front. And that helps us to start being more intelligent with our connections. This is the real work of prospecting. This is the job that pays the bills. Even with intelligent connection, though, I want to be clear, there is a line that you can cross, and we need to be careful about that. The flip side here is really, I mean, in my opinion, just as bad as maybe worse than blanket messaging. When we over personalize something, we are digging so deep into research that it can just become creepy. And so we're not building a connection at that time. It comes across as we're stalking them with our CRM. And nobody really likes the idea of somebody having that much information about us. Just pause and think about it. Is that really what you want? Like, it's a cool experience. Don't get me wrong. When a company says a lot of things about us and we're like, wow, how did you know that? But later that creeps in. Where are you storing that information? Why do you have that stored? How much more information do you have about me? All things that lead away from a sale, not toward one. So the real question is, does this personalization actually serve the prospect or does it serve you? If you're mentioning something personal just to get them to like you, like your dog, well, you've definitely crossed the line. So when we're aiming for intelligent connection, we're not trying to make people feel hunted or tricked. We're talking about genuine things that interest us, that interest them, that we have the ability to communicate about, to listen to, that we want to know more about. That's real personalization. It's funny that the unpersonalized messages oftentimes are outperforming the hyper personalized ones at this point. And so you see those content creators and those social media gurus out there promoting those tactics, but we often see the results telling a different story. So don't over personalize, just the right amount. That's what we're looking for. Now let's talk about how to build your toolkit for this intelligent outreach. So we've covered what not to do. Now let's get into more practical stuff. You're going to have swipe files. You're going to use visuals. And speaking of swipe files, a good swipe file isn't a script that you copy word for word. It's a starting point or a template that you adapt. That's probably the best way to say it. A swipe file is a template. Swipe files, that terminology gets used a lot in marketing. Obviously, marketing and sales bleed into one another, and so that's why we're using it here. But you'll have these, and so there'll be successful swipes that you've seen. And usually what we'll do with these on our side is we'll just build a folder, a Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder or wherever you store things. And in that folder, we're just saving things to it. Maybe it's landing pages that have good design or good copy. Maybe it's emails that we received from newsletters that we're on. Maybe it's a solid text message from a database reactivation campaign. Whatever it is that you think, wow, this is good and this could work, you save it to that swipe file. And then later, when you're looking for inspiration, you're looking through those templates to figure out what you could use as a starting point, something that you could adapt. So you build this swipe file from your own wins, ideally. Um, Build from people who also are very similar to you. So in my swipe files, you're going to find the teachers that I had, and some of them are direct, living people. And so I have a few of their pieces, but many of them are indirect, people that I've never met in person, maybe never will meet, and maybe some that aren't even alive, and multiple that aren't even alive anymore. And so when I'm looking at those swipe files of theirs or their content, I'm looking for only the people who resonate with my style. So, for instance, I use a lot of swipes from Gary Halbert, and that's a copywriter that really kind of got me into copywriting. Um, Long dead and gone, though. And so I'm using him because it gets me thinking in the right direction and makes my job easier. And then, as my study went on, I found another guy named Howard Luck Gossage, and his style of writing really fits mine, or my style fits his, or whatever you want to say. And so, whenever I'm looking for a certain type of copy that's very communicative, that feels relational, I'll turn to his stuff and see if I can get some ideas, some sparks of inspiration, so that I'm not stuck staring at a blank page. So if you're building it off of these type of things, off of your wins, off of wins of others that you want to be like or that fit and resonate with you, well, now then we also know why they worked, right? You should be able to keep track of what made them work, not just this ad seemed to convert. It's what levers did I pull? Why was the market in a certain position? Was there a new promo that was running on an ad platform? Like, what happened to make this convert for you? Why are you saving it? You want to add visuals, images, memes, GIFs, anything that you can add in, but they're just this is a tactical move. I want to make that part clear. They can break up text, they can add some personality, but what they can't do is fix a boring or misplaced message. So if your message is weak, having these extras usually just makes it a weak message with a picture or a moving picture. So instead, we want to ask, anytime we're going to add something in, does this add clarity or is this just more noise? Because if we're adding more noise, then we're creating confusion and our prospecting is not helping them. Remember, prospecting is a service that while it benefits us and pays our bills, it's helping them move through their process. So it's a service that we're actually performing for others. So next up, we're gonna dive into kind of the core of what we're actually trying to deliver here. And all this talk about connection, it really doesn't mean anything if we're not delivering real value. We talked about value at the beginning, but this is what most salespeople get wrong. Value isn't your product. It's not the features, it's not the benefits. The value is what your prospect gets. Again, I like to say utility, right? So let's say we're selling a car. The utility is they get a car that they can drive around that is useful for them, right? If I sold them a car that didn't run, that had no engine, there's very little utility for that unless they're just scrapping it out or something, right? So there could be a different type of utility for it. But the point is, this is not about saying that our product is valuable, that our service is valuable. This is about understanding what the prospect gets from this. It's an insight that they haven't considered, a question that makes them think, a specific data point that's relevant to their situation, something that's not we help companies grow. It's I noticed that you could be losing like 30% of your customers here, and I've helped others cut that in half. That's real applicable value right now. And so that's something that's immediately worth their time. If they respond to that, now it's worth your time because it's about them, not about you. So this is how we can start to focus on that relationship building side of things. We're not trying to close a deal when we're prospecting. That's not it at all. We're just saying hi. I always use the well-worn analogy of meeting someone in a bar or a restaurant or whatever. And when you meet that person and you see them sitting on the stool, you walk up for the first time, chances are you're going to say hi first. But for some reason, when we're prospecting, we skip that whole stage and we just jump right into, hey, you have a problem I could solve. Or, hey, did you have time to look at this thing? Or, hey, do you want to get on a call? Something crazy. So instead, take time. Relationships are what we're trying to build. You will need a sale in the future as bad as you need one today. I promise you. And a better relationship will help you make more often than pushing somebody into a decision today. So let's talk about where we actually should be delivering this value so that the prospect can actually receive it. Because before you run off and start prospecting, there's one other critical mistake that I really see a lot, and it's this premature ask. This is when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, for example, and you immediately try to book a call. Don't do this. And just to be fair, it doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn, your email, your text message, wherever. Don't do this. You haven't earned the right to change platforms. The rule is very, very simple here. Keep the conversation where it started until there's a very real reason to move. Keep the conversation where it started until there's a real reason to move. If you're just switching channels, it feels like a bait and switch, just jumping from one to the next. And so what'll happen, I use LinkedIn because it's the most common that I see, but email is definitely a close second, where you receive a message, hey, how are you? I want to connect. I love connecting with like-minded individuals. Garbage report, right? And then the next thing is, do you have 15 minutes to hop on a call and talk about what I do? Please don't send messages like that. Please don't send messages like that. You're part of Sell More Academy, and we want to make sure that we do better than this. So slow down, build that goodwill. That's how you avoid looking like every other desperate salesperson that exists. Don't try to book a call right away. Don't try to take action right away. That's not natural, and that's not how you like to shop either. So we've nailed down what real value actually looks like. Now, where do you deliver it? Because where you prospect matters just as much as what you say. Different places have different rules, different audiences, even different language that they use. You can't just blast the same message everywhere. And ultimately, for your business, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket anyway. But you also don't want to spread yourself so thin that you're ineffective. You got to go where your ideal customers actually are. And that's the key. And for a lot of us, if we're selling B2B, that means LinkedIn. If we're selling B2C, maybe that's a Facebook post or Instagram or even TikTok, right? There's different channels. And keep in mind that when we're prospecting, there's way more than just social media that's out there. There's way more than just email. Some people lived on their phones their whole life. Some people went door to door. Some people went to events and conferences and networking. There are a lot of ways that you can find people to prospect. But in this example here, we just want to make sure that whether you're on LinkedIn or anywhere else, that we are understanding the rules of the arena that we're in. So for instance, just sticking with the social media side, LinkedIn is more professional. It's where we put on this mask and tell everyone how great we are. Some of the funniest things that have gone around recently is, the real versus LinkedIn. And so the real is like, Santa Claus. And then the LinkedIn is like global logistics expert, parcel packaging specialist, like things like that, where that's what LinkedIn is. It's this place that we go to put on our best self in the public business arena. And then you switch over to something like X, and X is more driven for reporting. It's more driven for short, pithy ideas, more, um, almost almost more of just like metaphorical and figurative advice that you're going to get over there. And you will get a lot of very deep tactical tips if you're following the right people, but the style, what you say over there, the way that the platform works, the way the algorithms are set up are very, very different. And so you need to understand where you are before you start speaking. So let's talk about LinkedIn a little bit. It is a gold mine for B2B, but you have to play by their rules. So a good LinkedIn message is a short, specific one that references something about their profile or their recent activity. Now, this isn't the only way to do it, but this is a very solid way to go about it. It asks a question or offers them some kind of value, right? And don't offer value right off the jump. We're not trying to do that. We want to say hi first, like we said, but ultimately that's what we're trying to get to. If it's not some long generic sales pitch where we try to answer all their questions and make 7 chess moves in one message. Instead, we're just trying to open up the conversation. The real kind of secret of most platforms, but particularly LinkedIn, is that a lot of the prospecting actually happens in comments, whether that's on your post or somebody else's post. Not as much happens in the DMs as it used to 5 or 10 years ago. As more people use the platform and the DMs are the easy, low brain way to just blast out a bunch of messages, a lot of people just stop checking their DMs. So if they're actually commenting and engaging and being active on a post, then it might make sense for you to meet them there, meet them where they are. That will allow you to engage them, build some kind of relationship, and then maybe we can earn the right to ask for something else. But obviously, LinkedIn isn't the only game in town. There are plenty of places. So let's talk about email. I'm a big, big believer in email. It's still a powerhouse if you use it right. The stats are unbelievable. I encourage you to go look those up. Most inboxes, however, are a war zone. So your email has to cut through a ton of noise. So first, be brief. Just get to the point. Seriously, don't. Nobody's got time for your life story. Nobody cares why you think the way you do. Like, nobody cares. They care about themselves. So make it about them, make it brief so that they can read it. Second, your email has one job, and it's not to close a deal, it's to start a conversation. We just want to get a reply. We are not trying to pitch them. And the third thing is we want to make sure that when we get to that call to action, that we make it low friction. Don't ask for a meeting right away. If they ask, that's fine. You can go along with it, right? But we're not asking them to jump on a call. We're not asking them to jump into a sales process. Think about it. You're walking into a store, somebody says, "Can I help you?" You say, "No, I'm just looking." And they say, "Wait, you have to follow me over here." Doesn't make any sense. So when it's right, your CTA is at the right time, then you can ask them about moving forward. Then you can ask them about a meeting, about the next step, whatever the case is. But don't do it too soon. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Instead, not only are LinkedIn and email big, again, there's other platforms that you could go to if you're not seeing the results that you want here. There's a whole world that's out there. And so many of us for so long have only thought about a few channels. But what's funny is before Facebook, before Google, before Twitter, Instagram, before podcasts were a thing, even before forums a little bit, well, definitely before forums, um, people still sold stuff. People still prospected. So there's an endless amount of places and ways that you could find people that are potential prospects for you. First thing you need to do is just locate a group of suspects. That's how you find the right channels to go after. So our job is to match the channel that we're going through and our audience. So if we're selling to developers, we're probably not going to find a bunch of them on Instagram, right? So instead, we want to be in their communities. We want to go find them. Maybe they're in a Facebook group, possibly, but chances are they're probably more on like gamer type stuff. Maybe we could find them on Discord. Maybe we could find them on X. There's a lot of developers on X. Maybe we could find a community over there. But that's the point. It's about being smart, not just about being busy and sending out a lot of messages. It's about finding our starving audience and going to meet them. Okay. So once we've done this, let's try to kind of like pull all this together real quick because we've covered a lot of ground here. So ultimately, prospecting boils down to this. Intelligent prospecting is not some magic trick. We're not convincing somebody to do business with us. We're not using any hacks or tools that are going to make them lower their guard so that they do business with us. That's not our objective here, not in prospecting. Instead, we want to focus on a system, a prospecting system that is built on core principles. It's going to start with your mindset. You want to be useful, not to be liked. People do business with people they don't like all the time. Then it's not about research. It is about research. It's not about a shotgun approach. It's about being a sniper. So it's all about making sure that we are looking into these people first instead of treating all of our suspects like leads when they're not. And then we want to make sure that we deliver real value, something that is insightful, something that is useful, that has utility, not just a pitch. And then finally, maybe above all else, remember the human element. Be real with them. Don't be fake. Don't talk like you're a computer. Don't just copy and paste from ChatGPT into a message. You're going to sound like a bot with a human name. Don't do that to yourself. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't waste your time. Spend a little bit of your time to be worth their time. And you're going to see just enormous returns from your prospecting. Do that, take your time, and you will get more meetings. More meetings will lead to more sales. So, what's your first move? What's the first thing that you do from here? Well, the first thing you do is to really check all of your excuses. You have to be able to accept your current state. It starts with checking your mindset. Are my messages indicating that I'm trying to be liked, that I'm trying to tell my story, that I'm trying to justify my outreach, or am I trying to be useful to this person? Be honest with yourself. Then just pick one channel afterward, just one channel, and then master that channel. Don't go jumping around all over the place until you're getting some wins. There's a new platform that opens up seemingly quarterly, if not sooner. And so there's always going to be new platforms to jump to. But each new platform brings its own complexity. You're going to have different types of people that use platforms based on the age that they've been around. You're going to have different language, everything that we've already talked about. Language, you're going to have different rules, you're going to have different algorithms. And so trying to master multiple at once is very difficult unless you have channel managers on your team. And so that's your caveat here. If you're setting up a prospecting system or even a marketing system that go together, and the outreach is manual for the marketing piece, then just set it up into a way where you're able to have each person manage one channel. And that way they can master it. They know when Instagram has made an algorithm update because they follow the people at Instagram, or they know that X just changed the post characters because they follow Elon, or whatever the case may be. So just make sure that if you're doing it yourself, pick one until you get it and then move to the next one. If you have channel managers or VAs, please don't ask them to master everything. You're setting yourself and them up for failure. And maybe most importantly, you're doing damage to your reputation in the marketplace that you may never be able to resolve. So as you get those wins, you build your own swipe file. What worked? What didn't? Subscribe to newsletters of people that you find value or that you are inspired by so that you have additional resources to pull from. Save what works today. Once you get done with this masterclass, I really encourage you to pick just one person that would be a real fit for you. Somebody that would actually be the perfect prospect. And I want you to step backward through that process and say, okay, so if let's say this was the perfect lead, they're qualified, they want what we have, maybe they've already looked at other options, maybe they've tried some things, they have the money, they're the decision maker, all signs point to yes, this is a qualified lead. Well, what kind of perfect prospect would they need to be before they become a lead? That's important to understand. And then before they're a perfect prospect for you, what kind of suspect are they? And this is how we can start to imagine who our people are earlier in the process and start prospecting. Because as we've talked about in other master classes, if we wait for them to raise their hand, it's often too late. We end up in feature conversations, we end up in price battles, and ultimately we end up in a non-relational and instead a very transactional process. And that's not what we want. That's not how we build a pipeline. That's not how we build a book of business. That's not how we build referrals and get our sneezers. Ultimately, what we want to do is control each piece of that by understanding my perfect lead was once a perfect prospect, was once a perfect suspect. And this is what they look like in each of those phases. So that wraps up today's masterclass. I hope from here you know how to start. I hope that you know how to build a pipeline that actually works. We've covered everything that you need to do in this masterclass. If you watch it back, if you take notes, and you apply this, over time, your pipeline will become stronger. The best thing, the downstream effect of that pipeline being stronger is that you will sell more naturally. Not just because you have more people in the pipeline, but because each deal is going to get a better view. So once somebody moves into the lead and then into that deal stage for you, where they're actually moving forward, we want to make sure that as they move forward into there, that not only have we documented every step of the way, so we understand again that situation, but once we're there, our pipeline is so full that every deal doesn't matter so much. We're not dependent. We are not desperate, and we don't have commission breath. So I encourage you to rewatch this as many times as you need, take as many notes as you want. But ultimately, when you have questions or comments, either drop them below if you're watching this video in the class vault, or bring this conversation into the mastermind. I want to talk to you about it. I want to start a conversation about it. And I want to make sure that we can get your prospecting on point. Because once we do, you will have a better business, you will have a better pipeline, and you will sell more. And that's our objective here. So that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you all in the mastermind and for tomorrow's masterclass. We'll talk soon. Go sell more.